strips or pliers, and pliers for a wrench for a hammer, hammers everything else. It just don't seem to make much difference. I sure do like him, but it's hard.
This is not bad.
This is the early days. This is
The very first.
It'll either be history or it'll be a debacle, but we'll enjoy it either way. We'll get drunk and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe. I really I should have wore a hat because the bald spot it's moving forward as time goes by. I used to be able, if I had a forward facing camera like so, you wouldn't be able to see it, but now it's coming around the sides there.
We can retouch that. We have designers for that. We could retouch that.
Can you really?
Maybe. I don't know.
I might want you to make it less gray as well, and then see what
we could do. One of those Snapchat filters. You could do like
put the dog ears on or something. That wouldn't.
What's
hurt.
that guy? Brett Michaels. You could do a Brett Michaels headband at the Rock of Love sort of thing.
How did you have to say that guy? How did you not know who Brett Michaels was? That guy that was really famous in the 80s.
I was thinking of every guy I knew with a headband. And it just kind of, and it goes down to Guns N' Roses and Brett Michaels.
He's put on a little weight. Brett Michaels has. I mean, I'm not one to judge. I've put on quite a bit of weight, but he's put on a little weight. Looks a little sweaty when he's on stage now. Kind of like you when you set up a podcast.
Truth be told, I drank a little bit last night, so I drank a lot of it.
Yeah.
Hey, what about our sponsors? Are we going to plug our sponsors today?
Yep. Calibri joined us in there. Thanks to Wolf. Wolf's an old friend of mine. I worked for Wolf for a short while doing some frac work in the Arcoma Basin.
All right.
Down around Ardmore. So thank you, Wolf and Calibri. We shout out to you guys. We appreciate the support. US Oil Chem.
Yeah,
Matt Block,
yep.
US Oil Chem. Thanks for the sponsorship, Matt. You guys are the first two. So we have other people that have said they were going to sponsor, but we haven't. We just recently got our website and everything up, so we haven't billed those guys. But so far, Calibri and US Oil Chem have both actually done an official sponsorship, and we really appreciate those guys. Matt Block over at US Oil Chem, he can get you any kind of chemical you want for oil and gas operations. And then Calibri, they operate out of California. They have some pretty good wells there in southern Oklahoma.
Nice.
Really good company, really good people. So
all right,
you guys.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for that sponsorship. We're just two guys starting out. So we appreciate every little bit of support that you can provide. As I mentioned on the emails, check out our sponsorship opportunities online. You'd be surprised at how cheap we are. Lloyd and I are pretty cheap.
We sell ourselves pretty cheap. We don't ask for a lot of money because we're not really worth it, I guess.
Not yet. Might be. We'll see. I've been coasting on good looks and in my Jeep for forever. So this is maybe legitimized me for a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been coasting on just making people think that I'm way more valuable than I actually am. I've been doing that for a long time.
It's a good skill. Yep. Yep.
It's I have a tendency to I present well. I'm good at on the fly stuff. So
I can see that.
I've been successful that way because people ask me questions and I can come up with an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually accurate, but if it's not, it's all about being confident.
That's right. That is
kind of like hosting a podcast.
That's right. You just jump in, you just start doing it.
Yeah, start doing it.
You see how it goes.
I used to I did stand-up comedy for a while.
I heard that. Yeah, I've seen a couple bits, I think.
Yeah, it was fun. But I had, there was people that would write jokes and they would practice and practice and practice and practice, and they would stand in the mirror and do it and stuff. I would just come up with an idea and I may or may not write it down.
Yeah.
And then I would just get on stage and say it. Yeah. And that works for me. Like, even if I'm doing like a technical presentation or something.
Yeah.
I like to just wing it. I don't like to practice. Practice makes me nervous.
I can understand that.
And you can see, I mean, these results right now are just testimony to why it's a good practice to just jump right into it.
We've officially driven off 3 audience members with our comedy prowess.
Even the bartender's trying to check out.
The bartender's like, what the fuck did we get into this time? He's like, somebody called Becca.
And we picked a really good spot because the sun, it's January.
Yeah.
And so you want the sun for warmth, except it's like 95 degrees here in Houston.
It's 95 degrees.
Humble Backyard. Shout out to Humble for hosting us.
Yeah, we need to give a shout out to Humble. We called them up. We Wednesday night, actually tonight, is steak night. If I remember right.
Night steak night?
I believe it was Tuesday. I can't remember.
I think it's Tuesday. I think Tuesday night.
We might have missed steak night, but their food is excellent. We came out here for steak night one night. It was outstanding.
Drinks are cold.
Drinks are cold. People are friendly, and Becca's GM. She took really good care of us and just loved having us out here. So
Thanks,
we're
Becca.
giving a shout out to Becca in the humble backyard.
I feel like I'm squinting a lot because the sun's like shining right in my face.
Yep.
I should have wore sunglasses and a hat.
Yep.
We
I need
talked
you.
about
I
that
need
already.
those headshots. We got to get that big old straw hat on you again. I like that one. It was almost like the urban sombrero bed.
Yeah, that was a gift. I back when I was doing the comedy thing and I was working in Oklahoma, there was a good friend of mine. His name's Terry Rodebush.
All right.
Terry Rodebush. If anybody out there knows him, he is the epitome of Oilfield. He is an Oilfield guy.
Sounds like a future guest.
Yeah, future guest for sure.
Yeah.
He looks like Yosemite Sam, and that's not an insult. That's the truth. He looks like Yosemite Sam. He wears this huge straw hat.
Right.
And so I was commenting to him that I really, really like that hat. And he got me one. And it was incredibly large. It's not a joke hat. Like it's
it's a big hat.
real hat. And it's a straw hat, you know.
Yeah.
And he always said that the good thing about it is it kept the sun off and the daughters. Which I actually stole that one from him and used it on stage one time. And I wore his big hat on stage. And so what Jeremy's talking about is he was looking for some headshots to put on the website that made me look less like a toad. And so I sent him the ones with me with the 30-gallon straw hat.
It's a big one
like that.
We're gonna do a photo montage soon. We'll put it out on social with just a slideshow of famous Lyoid Fussel shots.
Well, he wanted me to get a headshot, and I'm not the kind of guy that takes a lot of pictures of myself. So the ones that I do take are usually doing something really goofy, and that's the only reason to take the picture. So
they're pretty good. If you've been to the website, oilandgaslighting.com, you can see our pretty mugs there. I go back and forth. I am completely vain, so I take pictures all the time and showcase myself, and that's just me. But Lyoid looks good. Was that a crappie? That was a nice size crappie, right?
No, that's a peacock bass.
It's a peacock. What the fuck is a peacock bass?
It's it's a peacock bass. I mean, that is what it is.
Like a bass had sex with a crappie and
and put in a rainbow and like a unicorn or something. No, and so they're like a South American fish, like an Amazonian.
They're the
fish.
cockiest of all bass because they're just peacocking everywhere they go.
That's right, and they got beautiful colors. But yeah, they're native to South America.
Where'd you catch that?
I caught it in Florida.
In Florida? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess some people in like Miami let them loose in the canals.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they're like aquarium fish.
Okay.
And now they've taken over down there. But normally that would be upsetting that you've got this invasive species, but they're incredibly fun to catch.
Are they?
And they get really large.
Do you eat them? Are they good?
I don't know. I didn't eat one. I'm a catch and release guy because I don't like all the mess of cleaning fish.
Yeah.
You can buy fish at the store. They're pretty good.
It is true.
They require no work, which I'm a big fan of that.
And I saw you caught that on a fly rod too. I
only fish with a fly rod.
Really?
Real men only fish with fly rods that they built and flies that they tied themselves.
No shit.
That's the way. That's the only way real men do it.
Well, then I am not a real man.
No, you're not.
I'm a bait and Zebco 202 guy all day long.
My God. Don't even talk to me about Zebcos.
I'm joking. I've never fly fished.
I'm joking. I hold an open face rod upside down. No. I mean, you don't have to fish with a fly rod to be a real man. Just a successful man, I guess.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I've got a buddy out in Colorado that'll tell you the same thing. He's got some candid terms for the other types of fishing. But
yeah. I mean, it's something that's fun. If I go fishing, I like to it's just cheating to use bait. I mean, if you're using a worm or you're using like cut bait or it's cheating because the fish, they can't help but eat it because it's food.
That's true.
But if you make a piece of feather and hair look like a fly and entice them to bite it, it's kind of spiritual.
That's what I do with the girls is try to entice them
to bite it
at first, and then I have them back off.
Okay. Well,
okay. So favorite fish. If you're gonna eat a fish, like just hands down, what do you choose?
Redfish.
I have to agree with you. I lived in northern Indiana for a little bit, and it was walleye all day long. Annual Canada fishing trip. Walleye is an amazing fish.
Well,
until I got to Texas. And I had redfish.
Yeah, black and redfish is one of my favorite things out there. But there's I'm gonna give a plug to somebody that hasn't paid us for a plug.
All right,
True Lux. Have you ever been to True Lux?
True Lux. They'll get those sponsors.
They have I think it's called Brazia.
All right.
Brazia fish. If you're ever in there, order the Brazia. I don't know what kind of fish it is. I have no idea where it comes from, but they bring you out like a whole fish that's like roasted.
Really?
And it looks interesting, but it's delicious. Like,
Really?
it's
All
probably it's better than black and red fish, but I've never had it anywhere but True Lux.
True Lux is great. If you're in Houston, there's a really great one kind of headed towards the Galleria off of Westheimer. I think that one's still there. They've got a great baked Alaska, which I didn't even know what the hell that was
It's not like
until
crab inside a salmon or something.
no, it's just like it's this dessert that
Oh, well,
the
that
wife
was
and I
way-
we were sitting there and there was this big looked like a big thing of whipped cream on fire. And I said, what the hell is that? And they're like, that's baked Alaska. And Prue was like, she's like, let's try it. So it was delicious. It was actually really good. So
What does it taste like?
whipped cream. That is a little bit kind of like it's
It
almost
tastes
like
burnt whipped
it's
cream.
like it's kind of like it's got some s'more hints to it from the campfire.
That sounds very exotic.
But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. That's I've got simple tastes. I got pretty simple.
Yeah, I like mushrooms. I like to burn them and put, if you put chocolate and graham crackers with them, I
Now
mean,
that
I've never had anything like it.
that is true. That is true.
I'm just giving him a hard time. So tell us about yourself, Jeremy. We talked about me. What about you?
Well, I do love the redfish as well.
I'm not talking about fish. I'm talking about where you come from, baby. What you do, where you grew up.
Grew up all over the place, but spent a lot of time in Denver. And I'm old enough now. I was Denver before Denver was Denver. I remember when they built Coors Field.
Back before it was a bunch of weed and homeless people.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I got stuck.
Sorry,
I'm a
Denver,
little-
but that's kind of a fact right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter towards Denver. I got stuck there Christmas Day because Southwest shit the bed.
Oh man, dude, you were in the Southwest debacle. That was
Yeah, big time.
that's a mess. So no, I was there if you would have told me in high school, we used to actually dare each other to jump into the Platte River in downtown Denver, and now they're kayaking on that shit, and I think it's insane. I think it's absolutely insane. It might be one of the most polluted rivers in the country, but they're not going to talk about that. Everybody's too high to notice.
Yeah, you're kayaking down the river and your paddle's got a bunch of needles when you get done. Like a bunch of different needles.
But it looks pretty. They've done a nice job with it. When they built Coors Field, a lot of folks kind of moved up to the hills. My family lives in Woodland Park, west of Colorado Springs, but yeah, I lived there for a long time. I was a snowboarder, if you can believe that. I don't really have the snowboarder physique, but it's hard to keep the cowboy hat on the hills. But
Yeah.
but we managed to just get a really tight one.
Get a really tight one. What is
A
that?
really
mean?
tight cowboy hat where you can fly on the mountain on a snowboard.
I gotcha.
Well, there's yeah. So
I thought you meant like a tight snowboarder. That was like some sort of snowboarding term.
that's some lingo. That's
Yeah.
some snowboard lingo. Now I moved to Kansas because I realized I could probably get some stuff done there because there's not much going on there. And so I lived in Lawrence for many years. That is an interesting fact. I'm actually we got kind of a house divided here because Lloyd's a K-State and I'm a KU guy.
I'm a K-State grad. Yeah.
And I'm a KU guy too. That's actually an interesting clarification though, because have you known people that they're like, oh yeah, I was OSU all day long, bro. But it was just like, well, how when you graduate? They're like, oh no, I didn't graduate, bro.
No, I never went to school there.
I'm just an OSU dude.
I barely got out of high school, but I like OSU.
But imagine
That's okay.
that's all right. But hey, there's fans, right? It's
Yeah, I mean, in Oklahoma, before the Thunder came, we had no professional teams of any
That's true.
kind, and
That's
so it was the Sooners and
really after the
Cowboys.
Thunder came, you didn't have a professional team of any kind.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Well, when Kevin Durant left, maybe I guess I don't know.
Oh, that I got a phone call from my mother-in-law who lives in Tulsa. It was like, can you believe he left? Can you believe he left?
Yeah,
It was
people
like,
were
it
upset.
was a
Like, literally,
very big
like
deal.
it was a big deal. Like people were very upset with Kevin when he left, and I'm like, it's his job. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to get paid more.
Yeah.
If everybody freaked out every time I changed jobs, there'd be a lot of mad
Yeah.
people out there.
Do you think I'm in Houston for the weather? Nah, I'm kidding. I love
No.
Houston a lot.
Houston's, yeah, it's great. The traffic's wonderful
Traffic is-
because this morning, not only was the highway shut down, but the FAA shut down every domestic flight in the country this morning until 9 a.m.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, why do people not know about this stuff? Yeah, this morning.
This is what I'm told. There are these current events that I'm told about.
Here's the funny thing. I don't watch news.
All right.
I don't watch the mainstream media.
No.
I don't watch TV. But I know more about what's going on in the world than most of the people that I come into contact with.
Okay.
And I don't know why. But like this morning I walked in and I'm like, hey, how about that FAA shutdown? And everybody's like, what? And I'm like, the
Where did you
FAA.
hear that? Was it radio or like
I'm not gonna say.
it wasn't the podcast?
I'm not gonna say where I heard it from because that might
Are you telling me?
disclose my
Are
sources.
you telling me that you're a reader?
I do read, but I read like I have a specific mail site that I use that I'm not gonna like
All right.
mail like MAIL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, what Lloyd's saying, he's got this very strapping, half naked guy that fills him in on the current events before he leaves for work in the morning.
That's not what I said, but it doesn't. I mean,
I met Lloyd's roommate the last time we were. He's a cool guy. He's all right.
Yeah, my roommate. But so the issue is I don't know, but the site that I follow, it's kind of an alt site,
All
right?
right,
It's got like, yeah, there a lot of people would be uncomfortable if they heard about the kind of news that's reported there, but it's always accurate. Like
Yeah,
you watch the TV and you watch like CBS and you have no idea if they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah.
But this news that I use, they give me the headlines and that's it. They let me make my own decision. They're like, here's what happened.
Nice.
Here's a link to what happened.
Yeah.
Here's a link to the actual official announcement that was made by the FAA.
Nope.
And we're just letting you know about it. We're not going to tell you anything about it. We're not going to say what our
Nice.
opinion is.
Nice.
You go check it out and you tell us what you think. And so I went and checked it out and I don't know what to think, but I do know that they shut down all the airplanes this morning.
Did they say why?
It was due to a software glitch they claimed.
Really? Yeah, you don't want a software glitch when you're flying across the.
No, I don't know if
it was.
they didn't say what kind of glitch or anything. I don't have any more information for you, but I can't tell you that happened this morning.
That's actually really interesting because it'll be interesting to watch how they spin that tonight.
Yeah.
To see what the line is, but
well, it'll depend on if you're watching Fox News or if you're watching CNN. If you're watching CNN,
yeah.
it'll be because the they had to shut the planes down because they were destroying the ozone layer, or melting the Arctic ice caps. And if you're watching Fox News, they'll tell you that Nancy Pelosi needed some fuel for her Mercedes, and so they didn't have enough gas to fly the airplanes. And
that's exactly what happened.
And neither one of those are true.
That is true.
I would assume.
I would imagine it probably was indeed a software glitch. That's what Southwest said, and they shit the bed.
Well, Southwest was lying. They didn't have. They were saying it was weather. Meanwhile, every other airline's flying in and out of Denver except for Southwest, and they're like, "Oh, it's the weather," and no, it was not the weather because they had planes coming into Denver, but none going out of Denver. And I have my theories as to what happened, but all I can tell you is that they handled that situation very poorly.
Yeah, that's
it was a
definitely
big disaster. So you were talking about snowboarding earlier. That's how I ended up in Denver on the holidays because I decided to go be a winter activities, take my family on a winter activity vacation. And
if you know Lloyd, he's got the spirit of adventure. And
I do have the spirit of adventure, and I have the physique of failure. And
not true.
So I've heard that winter sports are fun.
Yeah.
And I like cold. I don't like hot. I like cold. So I was like, all right, rolling around in the snow sounds pretty fun.
All right.
And my daughter, she really wanted to go do that. So we went out there. And when we originally planned the vacation, we had dreams of skiing. And those dreams kind of, as I started to think more about that and the fact that Sonny Bono died on skis, and I'm sure he was a better skier than I am. And I know he weighed less than I do.
But he killed it on stage.
He did, yeah. But so I'm like, I don't know, maybe skiing's not the right path for me.
All right.
Maybe that's
So
not the right activity. No downhill skiing. So we went tubing. That was great. The winter vortex formed while we were tubing.
Nice.
I'm not even kidding. Like we tubed
formed.
Like right over, like, because it formed like near Winter Park.
Really?
This polar vortex that hit everybody.
Like, could you see it, or was it just a huge drop in temperature?
No, it's just a huge drop in temperature. So we tubed for like 30 minutes. And we're having a good time. Well, they were having a good time. I was mostly hassling for air. And I had sat down on the bench to take a break because it was exhausting riding the thing that pulls your tube up. I mean,
that's the tow rope, right? You got to hold on to it.
The tow rope would pull me up the hill, and then I would fall off and roll around in the bottom of the thing where the tube got dumped. And then I would have to pull the tube literally like 30 yards. And then I would be exhausted and I like sweaty and hot. So I took a break, and my wife and daughter, they're still tubing. And then all of a sudden the temperature dropped like we were talking, it was like 28 degrees.
Yeah.
It dropped to like minus 50.
And
the wind was blowing 60, 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
And it was just, the snow was just forming out of nowhere. I think it was like blowing off it was lifting all the snow that was on the ground.
All right. Yeah.
And it was like a tornado, except with snow and cold.
Holy shit.
And it totally shut the place down. Like within 15 minutes, everybody had left. Like I went to take cover because it was a total like whiteout blizzard thing.
Huh.
But anyway, so that was the first day we went tubing, and then we went tubing again. But then, I couldn't downhill ski. I wasn't even gonna try that, but we decided to go cross country skiing.
Right.
And so we go there, and I'm too fat to reach my feet. And so I had to get help strapping into my stupid skis. So my wife helps me get strapped into my skis.
All right.
And the whole time I'm realizing that I probably should have went on a diet before I took this vacation, or maybe like 15 years ago. Should have tried to be better in shape. But we get on the skis and we're doing I've done a Nordic track before, right?
Right. Yeah. I remember Nordic track.
At the gym, a Nordic track.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So there was these grooves.
Nordic track. Why not cross country ski?
Yeah.
In the middle of a polar vortex.
I haven't done it in a few years, but I've done it before. So the polar vortex was gone, by the way. The weather was decent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anyway, there's these grooves, and you get in the grooves, and you cross country ski. You're like, you basically walk with skis, but you're kind of sliding. And
okay. All right.
You got the sticks, and it really wasn't that hard, and it was kind of enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even feel like I was getting exhausted because you just kind of glide along.
Right.
It was kind of neat. So I went about a quarter of a mile, and the trail ended, and there was the trail continued, but you had to like change over to a different track to continue the trail. And it was slightly downhill, like a 3 or 4 foot drop down to the other one.
Right.
And it was a reasonable slope. It wasn't scary,
right,
or anything.
Which is like a little coasting
just a
spot.
coast down onto the other track.
Right.
So I'm feeling good, man. I've just come a quarter of a mile. So I turned the old skis and I head down to the lower track, and I went perfectly 90 degrees to the slope, right? Perfectly downhill.
Yeah.
And so I start coming down the hill, and I'm sliding down the hill, and I yell at my daughter. I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm skiing." And then I realized pretty quickly that I had no ability to stop or turn, any idea how to do either of those things.
Right.
And I'm picking up speed. And so I
kept
speeding up, picking up speed down the hill, cross the trail, run off into the fresh virgin powder of the mountain, like 4 feet deep, sunk all the way to the bottom, found the grass that had been hidden in the fall, right, with my skis. And collapsed, fell over into the snow. Shit. And I'm laying there kind of, it was deep. Yeah, I'm under the snow, and I'm rolling around, and I can't get up. I got skis on.
Oh,
and the skis are like 4 feet long for a 300-pound guy. And I can't get up. I can't take the skis off. I can't reach them because I'm just rolling around like a turtle on his back.
Right.
And so I'm like, help. And so my wife and daughter, they come down and they unhooked my skis. And that was the end of my skiing expedition. But it was extremely embarrassing.
Did you get photos? We need photos for the
no photos.
That's social.
No photos for that.
You know, they say you need to spit when you get covered in snow like that if you're in an avalanche, so you can figure out which way is
there was no avalanche other than my avalanche.
Then you're all right.
Anyway,
that's awesome.
I'm not built for winter activities, it turns out. I have the right insulation level, but not the right physical ability to not
cross country skiing. That was I wouldn't have called that.
Yeah,
it's like people don't call a snowboarder with me.
I don't look like a cross country skier, and that's because I'm not. I've discovered.
Well, you learned that. We learned something.
Yeah, you got to try everything. Find out what you're good at.
Hey, speaking of which, I guess we never really told people what it is we're doing. You know, we talked about it a little bit when we got interviewed by.
I don't think we know what we're
doing. We don't really, but we do know that I guess we know what we're not, right? So this is not a technical oil and gas podcast. In fact, far from it. I've learned a lot from sitting on the back of somebody's truck, drinking beer and just talking. And I was just like, why don't we package that and see if we can do that?
So, I mean, every oilfield guy has a story, right? They have a story about how they got in the oil field. They have a story about how they left the oil field and came back. They have a story about how they had a whole bunch of toys during a boom, and then they had to pawn all those toys and work at McDonald's during the downturn.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got those stories, and then they also have stories about pranks.
Oh yeah,
that's a big thing. Pranks, and they all have stories about real stuff. You know, missing family events,
That is true.
Missing out on normal life.
Yep.
And all those stories are interesting. And friendship is another one that you get a lot when you hear oilfield stories.
That is true. That's some of the best people I know. Actually, probably my whole social sphere are somehow tied to the oil field. It's
I don't have any friends that aren't tied to the oil field. I don't think.
I might have one or two, but
I don't even know if I know anybody that's not tied to the oil field, really, to be completely honest. in some way, shape, or form.
That's true. I mean, that everybody I know is one way or another, and that's been the joy of finding this career. Is it's been terrific. So,
that's Darvin. Is that
Darvin?
our guest?
Yeah, I just got on.
Hey, there he is. Hey, Darvin.
All right.
We've been bullshit. We've already done like an hour-long podcast. I think we might get 4 or 5 episodes out of the first hour.
We might,
or we might get 5 minutes if we cut out everything that was no good.
Yep.
So
we'll definitely do some outtakes. So that's
so we were just telling everybody kind of what the show is that we're looking to do here, like telling people's real stories from the oil field. And one of my favorite guys that I've ever worked with is Darvin McAfee. I don't know. We don't have a soundboard, but if I did, I would give like an applause break.
We're working on that.
Darvin McAfee.
All right, Darvin, welcome. We have not met, but I'm sure we know some similar people. So I'm glad you got to come out for us today. We're excited. You're our first guest of our first episode ever, and so
it's an honor.
Yeah,
it's an honor for you, for us. It's really great.
100 episodes from now. We'll get back and have a
definitely an honor to be the first. At least I got the pot to carry. So
that's right. Hey, so Darvin, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I don't want to tell everybody your story. You tell it. Where are you from? Start there.
Well, I'm from Duncan, Oklahoma. I started at Halliburton when I was 21 years old. Worked there for a while and went consulting. Got laid off and went back to fracking and went back to consulting, and that's when I met Lloyd. We were teamed up on a customer together doing stuff.
Yeah.
And that lasted probably a year and a half or so. And then moved on. I've been consulting ever since. Going on about 7 years consulting now.
Yeah, it's funny because basically everything I outlined before Darvin joined, he just told in a very synopsis version. Where he started out with, I started working with Halliburton when I was 21 and got laid off. It was basically the outline that I had just given. So Darvin, let's talk about consulting and what you do now. I mean, there's going to be people that listen to this show that don't know anything about the oil field. We haven't really told them much about what you do with Frac, right? We just told them kind of what it's like to be a member of a Frac crew, but we haven't really went into it. But tell everybody a little bit about consulting and what you do.
Oh, I work for a producer, and I make sure that the service companies, frac companies, wireline, pressure control companies, wellhead companies, everybody's doing what the producer wants, and per their specs. So I sit in and watch frac jobs, make sure they're being pumped, watch it for screen outs, things like that, pump down the wireline, rig up, rig downs, make sure everything's getting done. Cost and efficiency consultant, just try to keep everything moving forward and keep the cost low. I also do drill outs and stuff like that with workover rigs.
Well, you're doing great.
Fishing.
So I had told Darvin before he joined us that he had to either bring the funny or the sexy. And so I'm thinking Darvin's probably naked right now. You naked?
So he brought the sexy? That's why he's not on camera.
Well, I mean, I did put on a shirt, but I am just wearing underwear. So
the waist down is good.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Darvin was a little nervous before we did this because talking publicly and on camera or recorded or whatever is kind of nerve wracking for guys. Field guys. They don't usually do that stuff.
No.
And
it's
you're doing great,
and you can relax because right now we don't have anybody on. The two people we have online are both girls, so they're excited that you're in your underwear. And that's awesome. And so
see, here's the thing though, I could mess up and say grab her by the pussy or something like that, and then can't run for president.
Now we got 0 listeners. Thanks for that, Darvin. Good job. We're tracking right.
Well, I mean, I could, this could ruin my presidency. I thought I was going to run for president.
Yeah, you could miss out on that candidacy you're planning to run. So I wanted to tell everybody one of my favorite stories.
All right.
And that I know of. I got 2 favorite stories with Darvin because Darvin and I go way back. We used to be consultants together. I helped him. He came and helped me out on some work we did for Wolf Regner, who, by the way, Darvin Calibri is one of our sponsors. Mr. Wolf, he sponsored our podcast. So.
Thank you, Calibri, for
Yeah.
sponsoring us.
Yeah, Calibri. It used to be B&K.
Right.
I don't let me say that. I don't know exactly how it transpires. I know that Wolf was in charge of B&K, and now he's in charge of Calibri, and so I don't know exactly how that breaks down.
They're operating out west. They operate California, you said?
Yeah, that's where their main offices is. But anyway, so one of my favorite stories with Darvin, I'll let him tell the story. I'm not going to hog the mic, but is Cherry Pie Tony. So tell everybody
I like
Cherry
it.
Pie Tony, Darvin.
You're probably way better at it.
No,
And,
come
I
on.
can add some more theatrics to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
you just
he was just an asshat.
well,
Now,
here's the
you
problem.
just
though.
go ahead and start off, and I'll start correcting you when you get a little out of line.
Okay, that sounds fair. That sounds fair. So we were working on B&K, and they had some wells down in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Okay.
We were the supervisors. Darvin and I were the consultants that were supervising the frac work, and I had done most of the design work for the jobs as well.
All right.
And Darvin was working nights, and I was working days, and those wells were very difficult to frac, and we were having trouble figuring out why they were so difficult to frac. And we finally, they've been screening out. We'd been having equipment issues. I mean, just nonstop nonsense that had taken place. And so we finally got to where we were making progress, right? We've hit a couple of stages. We've got them pumped completely. And I don't even know this guy's real name. He was a salesman for Great White. I don't know his name, his full name. And I'm sorry if he's listening, because I still love you. But we everything starts to pick up, and he shows up with some donuts, or he showed up with fried pies. My bad. He showed up with a box of fried
pies.
Yeah.
You said you were in Ardmore?
We're in Ardmore.
Oh, of course. You got to have fried pies.
Yeah. So he shows up with a box of fried pies. Everything's going smooth. As soon as this sumbitch walks into the shack, to the consultant shack, we screen out. Like, I mean, am I lying, Darvin? Like, he opens the door and the well screens out.
Like, immediately.
Yeah.
No, he walked in, he set the damn cherry pies down, was sitting there bullshitting, and then it goes to shit, and I'm like, I had just woken up.
Yeah, it was fried pies,
night,
but we didn't know what was in the fried pie box. Like, he had this fried pie box. He goes in and sits it down. We open up the fried pie box, and it's a box of fried cherry pies.
It's all cherry
pies. And if you don't work in the oil field, or you're not familiar, cherry pies
no, that's bad news.
are bad news. That's like some bad mojo. I mean, would you expand on that, Darvin?
I mean, like on boats, you don't have bananas. On a frac locations, you don't have cherry pies. I mean,
just don't do it.
I've heard it.
And a lot of times it's anything cherry. Hell.
Yeah, right. It doesn't have to be a cherry pie. It could be a cherry. It could be a cherry donut, a cherry lifesaver, or a cherry popsicle.
No shit.
You don't bring cherries on location.
All right, that's good to know.
So anyways,
you don't
we're like
a hard hat on location.
Yeah. We're like, what the hell are you doing, Tony? And he's like, oh, I just brought y'all some pies, man. And he's all excited and he's all happy. And I'm like, how long have you?
I know exactly where he stopped to. I know exactly the place where you get those. I can picture it in my brain. It's right down by all the church camps, and you got to load up.
And I mean, he was completely dumbfounded.
We made him
so pissed off.
We made him take them with him. Get that fucking shit out of here.
Yeah, we were like, get these cherry pies, and you get the hell out of here. And then we called him, and we made him bring them back. Remember?
Get the hell out, take your cherry pie.
We had the water flow back hand go sacrifice them on another location. Do you remember that, Darvin? We had him go run them over and burn them on another location. And whenever we did that, guess what?
We good to go?
Everything was fine.
Everything went back.
The mojo. Cherry. Yeah. I can tell you this right now. Tony, whatever your last name is, Tony, I love you. It's all in fun. Yeah. But I don't have any idea what his last name is, because he's still saved in my phone as Cherry Pie Tony.
And Tony, if you ever come to the show, do not bring cherry pies.
Yeah, don't bring cherry pies.
Tied to oil and gas, and I don't want to shit the bed on that. So,
I mean, really, we could probably have a whole podcast just with how Lloyd does his contacts.
With how Lloyd does what?
I mean,
so
we just read through your contacts, and that would be good enough.
Yeah,
just because I know how you label most people.
Oh yeah, well, that's not fair. I know it's not. That sounds like it's racist or something. But I mean, Cherry Pie Tony
We were just showing it on the screen. If you
it's his phone number. Don't call him.
Don't call Cherry. Oh,
sorry, Cherry.
That's all right. We're new. We've got three or four viewers right now. So
but that's not his
That
real.
was a salesman for Great White. He does not work for Great White anymore.
Oh, I guarantee you, he don't still work at Great White. Not bringing cherry pies to the location. There's no way he made it. He made the cut. So another story. You're gonna tell this one, Darvin. You came to work for me one time, and I think it's pretty funny. Right. The whole story about how you came to work for me at one time. So why don't you tell that one?
Oh man,
good start.
Well, that's kind of how it started. I was having a bad day. I was sweating. I was covered in oil. Bad day, and Lloyd called me. He said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm working." He said, "Well, do you want to quit and come work for me?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Let's do it." That's all. That was all the convincing it took.
Yeah,
and,
I
didn't even know. I didn't even know. All he told me is how much money to expect. Get there, get the interview. I got the job. I didn't even know what the name of the company was. When I showed up to this place, all he did was give me an address, and I drove to Houston. I didn't even know what it was called. And I got there. I was like, oh, well, there's the name of it. I then told my wife, kids, everybody, oh, I just quit my job. I went to work for this company. What company you go to work for? Hell, I don't know the name of it. Really?
It was so funny because we had a deployment where we had a piece of equipment go out to the field.
All right.
And it was for a really important customer. And I was having a heart attack because I didn't know that I had anyone that I could trust to properly service that piece of equipment and to keep it running so that we could actually turn that contract into something. Right.
Yeah.
And if you go out there with your equipment and it fails, you're not going to get any business from that company.
Right.
And so I'm mowing my grass in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
This is with your current company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was mowing my grass in Tulsa, and I'm worrying while I'm mowing about what's going to happen if this equipment fails.
Right.
And that's why I called Darvin. That's when I called him, and he was doing some mechanic work or something. I was like, you need to stop all that shit and come work for me. Like right now, I need you in Midland.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You just up and left.
Just up and left. And so, like a couple hours
I
later,
quit that day. I kept on doing because I was changing some oil and some light plants and stuff, and I kept on doing. I said, "Well, call me back as soon as it's confirmed and my salary's confirmed." And he called me back. He said, "It's a done deal." I said, "All right." I literally put my tools back in my truck and walked down to the office and quit right then.
Called his boss and said, "I'm quitting." His boss is like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I really don't know."
Don't know, but not here. But
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going.
But I've seen this happen before where I was working with a guy once, and he was heading a drilling rig, and we were drinking one night, and literally in about the space of 5 minutes, he had fired 2 guys, hired 3, and had everything set up in the morning. Like literally while we're sitting there, he's just like, "You're fired. Fuck you. You're out of here." He calls up. He's like, "Hey, you still need some work?" Yep. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. It was literally that quick. It was like no questions asked.
Well, yeah. And it all boils down to, that's one of the points of the kind of stories that we're trying to tell here. Earlier I said that everybody's got a story about loyalty and about friendship. And, Darvin is one of my really good friends. We don't spend as much time together as we should. We don't see each other as much, but he's a good enough friend that he quit his job with full faith that I was going to do what I told him I was going to do. And I did what I told him I was going to do. I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do for him, but I did what I told him I was going to do. And he's willing to come on here with us for our first guest.
Yeah, we do appreciate it.
Yeah, even though I know he didn't really want to. So yeah, thanks, Darvin.
Yeah, Lloyd cashed in one of those favors for you. That's no, it's the way
I owe him a bunch. I owe him a bunch of favors. So one day he's going to start trying to cash them in, and I'm going to be broke.
I want to hear some of the pranks you played on the competing Halliburton.
How about some pranks? You got some good pranks you can talk about?
Oh man.
You don't have to use any names. You don't have to use anybody else's name or anything. It can be anonymous.
Yeah, because I think the world doesn't know. Like, the first rig I got on is like the normal civilian world doesn't know about, like, running dope up the green hat's butt and shit like that. They don't know any of that stuff, and that's what we're trying to do.
Door handles.
We're trying to expose a little bit of that, and so
you don't have to tell all of them. But just pick one of your favorites, and you don't have to use any names or identities to protect the innocent.
That's right.
Well, my favorite to do, this is before the red zones and having to stay out of the high pressure zone and all that stuff, was to get a new guy on the back of a pump, and you'd be in prime up, so you'd be pumping fluid back to the blender, and you'd go up to 7 barrels a minute, which was fourth gear, and the HT pumps, the triplexes, and so you'd get them up there and you'd tell them, when plunger 1 goes in, raise your right hand. When plunger 3 goes in, raise your left hand. So you'd start it out at like 1 barrel a minute, and then start just revving it up, shifting gears, and going with them, and making them. They'd be sitting there swinging their arms back and forth, and you're talking to them on the radio. They're keeping count, you're calibrating the pump. That one was always pretty fun. Or
calibrate the pump's a good one.
You could get pretty good with the seismic test, depending on how far you went in. I've seen people break out paint and all kinds of stuff, but usually just run a transducer line from the data van instead of that on the ground with the transducer screwed on it.
Yeah.
Most new people have no idea what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And
tell them it's a seismic study, right? Like you're trying to get seismic readings, the base seismic.
Yeah, and then you give them a sledgehammer and make them hit the ground.
Hit the ground, beat a circle around the. That is a good one.
It's never good enough. You're talking to them on the radio as they're doing it. Everybody's watching out the window, and people are video camera and stuff, and it's never good enough because they're talking shit.
You gotta
to
go
the whole
faster.
time on the radio.
You gotta go faster. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I've seen people get air samples and trash bags.
Air samples.
The rubber snake pranks.
That'd be a good one in this ESG climate.
Yeah, the air samples. I haven't ever done.
Do me a favor, go out and get some air samples.
A Glad trash bag.
How am I supposed to do that? There's a trash bag over there.
Or like working for a new customer and you have chemicals and stuff left over from other jobs, and you build up a crosslink sample as a company man, a wireliner in the wireline truck pumping wire, because that was back when wireline first started doing horizontal stuff. I mean, they went slow, low rates, nothing like it is now.
Yeah. And
we would send a green hat over there to tell the company man, this is what we're pumping, and we'd have like a 40 Visc crosslink sample mixed up. And the company man would flip out. On the new guy.
I know you're not pumping that well.
Man, just about anything and everything. I've convinced them that the blender was broken when we were doing chemical samples and made them sit there and stir it. And, for no reason, just in the data van, just stirring a cup, for no reason, just so they'd get away from me. And everybody at the data van knows what I'm doing, but I'm back and forth. I'm out of there. So they're just standing there stirring this cup, looking stupid for 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. We lost another one. Unfortunately, that was Jeremy's wife that quit this time. So we're doing well.
Hey, I will tell you a quick story about my connecting back to audio, which is
there we go.
So if you don't know me, my wife's a frac engineer for BP, and so she's pretty smart, and I'll tell you about my first frac job I got to go on. And so I've largely been a tourist in the oil field, and I'll admit that, but I know a fair amount, and I'm pretty smart, and best advice I ever got was to get out in the field. And so I did. And so got myself on the first frac job I did in eastern Kansas. And if you know eastern Kansas, those are little tiny wells, like maybe 800 feet TD. And I was super excited though. I get the call, and it's just like, at the time I'm working for University of Kansas, and they're like, I'm going on a frac job, and tell my wife, and she's like, oh shit, you got to get your PPE.
Yeah.
You need hat, you need safety, you need everything. All right. So I load up, I go over to the supply shop over here at Wayne Industries. We need to get those as a sponsor, so I'll plug them. It's a great shop if you need.
Wayne Industries.
Yeah. So for Wayne, this is a future plug for a sponsorship. But anyway, I get loaded up. I drive the Jeep up there and drive the Wrangler in, and I'll let the producer remain anonymous for now. And so we roll in, and my wife's like, she's like, you got to get in the frac van. You got to get the frac van. You got to get the data. And she's like, I'll even look at the data if you want. We can check it out. And so my wife uses she's a pretty good engineer. And so I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we get up there and get up there on the job site, and they've rigged up, and I'm like, well, where's the frac van? They're like, there is no frac van. They're like, you see that little barbecue grill up thing there? They're like, that's what we're doing. It was a little combo unit. So I get up there and I'm looking around, poking around, and I was like, well, shouldn't I have my safety equipment? He's like, hell no. He's like, get up on that wellhead, boy. Just get in there and just to check it out. I'm like, and I'm about a foot away from that wellhead. He's like, we haven't had anybody hurt in about 2 weeks, so you're fine. And so what I realized though is we weren't fracking one well that day. We were fracking 5 because they were so small, and these are all little water injectors, and so we rig up, frac 1, and there's no science behind it. It's like, oh, put a little bit of that hunter mesh in there, put a little of this, and let's.
Yeah.
So we do that a couple times, and by the time we're getting ready to leave, he's like, well, why don't we go clean out that injector a little bit? I'm like, all right. Well, so we drive over there, and they're rigging down and driving over there. So we go to the little injector well, and I pull up my Jeep right up next to the wellhead, and good old boy comes up, and this is like 2 7/8. It's like this like slim hole stuff, and so opens up the valve. Crew just starts shooting out. They're probably like 30 feet out of the injector. And what we had done is we had pressured up that reservoir.
Oh yeah.
So I'm freaking out. I had just come from BP's world, and they're like, no, this is safety.
Yeah.
Now, this is Eastern Kansas. And so I'm freaking out. And the guy comes up, I'm like, what's up? How can I help? And he's like, son, I'm like, what do I do? He's like, well, I'll tell you what, you better move that truck, because that crude's a bitch to get off that paint. And that was it.
All right.
But yeah, fracking little cow patties, that I've done some of that a few years back, and we just pull up, rig up 1 3-inch line to the wellhead, rig up 4 pumps and just pump, as fast as we could till the tank was empty, and then go over to the next one.
Yeah.
So we're just doing cleanouts on all these. There was no locations. There was no nothing. I mean, cows. We're shooing cows away from the wellhead to
Yeah.
back up to them.
Hey,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
here's an
they're-
interesting story about Darvin. He's a Golden Gloves boxer.
No shit.
Yeah, talk about that, Darvin.
Like it's to this day, or just back in the day, or
I don't think he can box now. He's too fat. But tell him about when you used to box.
Damn it. No, when I was younger, I boxed.
That's an interesting story. You really knocked that one out of the park, Darvin. Start taking your clothes off.
Well, I mean, boxed out of the Lawton Boxing Center out in Lawton. BB top contender, the dude BB Grady Brewer, the dude that won top contender, won $1 million. He was out of our gym. I
Nice.
sparred him several times. Did a lot of good fights. Oklahoma light heavyweight state champion.
Nice.
Golden Gloves, Kansas, Oklahoma.
It's fantastic.
Did a lot of big fights.
When did you stop boxing?
When I was like 22.
22.
Basically Halliburton.
Yeah. So, when
I
did
was
you
working
start?
too much. I mean, as early as 8, but I didn't really get real competitive till I was probably like 16.
Okay. So let me ask you this: did you ever use any of those skills behind a frac tank?
Not behind a frac tank, probably at a bar.
That's what I figured.
Stuff like that. But I never really gotten any fights on location. I've been a few little squabbles, wrestling matches and stuff. That was the norm back then when I was young.
Did you ever throw your hard hat?
Oh shit! I've thrown my hard hat. I've busted windshields on trucks by accident and then had to make up stories. I've thrown my damn hard hat so many times.
That's how you know a frat guy's pissed off, is whenever the hard hat goes flying.
That's good to know.
Yeah. If you ever see that happen, step away. Step away. I've never thrown my hard hat. I've never had. I don't get that upset.
I've dropped mine a couple times, but I don't know if I've ever thrown it.
I don't get that. I don't get that upset. When I get mad, I use my words. I don't use my hard hat. That's fair, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to be pretty pepped up all the time as a supervisor. And I had this old company man tell me, he said, there's only 2 things that you are guaranteed in the oil field. Only 2 things. So what's that? He said, shit's gonna break and people are gonna fuck up. If you don't spend your time getting mad about those two things, he said your whole career is going to be you pissed off.
That's
He
true.
said, so get pissed off about everything else, but unless they fuck up or if it breaks, those two things are just guarantees. Don't
Yeah,
get
that's
mad about that.
guaranteed.
Now, Darvin, where you work? Are you working mostly Oklahoma, or just kind of all around lower 48, or just kind of where they need you?
No, just out in Midland, West Texas.
Oh, you're West
Big
Texas.
Lake, Big
Okay.
Spring.
Is there any frac crews running in Oklahoma right now, Darvin? Last time I checked, there was not many.
The last 3-4 years, I haven't even been in Oklahoma at all. Been all in New Mexico and West Texas, so I don't even know what's really going on in Oklahoma. As far as I know, not a whole lot. Some of the big players are still going.
Yeah.
But I don't hear of a lot of frac crews running in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was really busy like 5 years ago, and then it died, and like there was like basically nothing going on 2 years ago or so. Anyway,
for a while there, it was booming. When I first started out, and I was just trying to learn everything I could, I'd go out and I'd follow the water lines to the well site, and so I'd follow the water lines, and I'd pull the truck up just about the time the head guy came out and said, "Get the fuck off of here! Who the hell are you?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I just want to look around." He's like, "Nah, that doesn't work." Now that comes, I get that from my dad. My dad used to sling chains years ago in the 80s before everything tanked, and so we do this thing. We'd go out duck hunt in eastern Colorado, and he'd see a drill ring way off in the distance, and he'd pull up, and the first thing he'd say is like, "Y'all hiring?" And then, but he didn't give a shit if they were hiring. He just wanted to see what's going on.
Yeah,
but that was the opener.
Yeah.
So I tried the same thing, and they get the hell out of it.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that shit don't work anymore.
No.
I've had people come up and be like, "Y'all hired? I don't know. Check the fucking website. Get the fuck out of here." What the hell are you doing? Check the fucking website. I don't know if they're fucking hiring.
Check the website.
I don't hire. Yeah, that's the.
I'm not HR. Why the fuck you talking to me? Get the fuck out of here.
Wasting my time. Hey, it's Wednesday. No solicitations.
That's right. Now the one old boy said he's like, I said, well, I just want to kind of just check out what y'all are doing. He's like, you can. He's like, you go up on that hill right over there. You park your truck and you can look down on us and see what we're doing from over there. I said, all right. I knew when I wasn't welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that does not with Darvin's right. And I remember like a couple of times we had people roll up on the location asking for work, and they're methed out crackheads. That night they're going to be pulling Rima cables out and selling the scrap copper, but
yeah.
But right now they're looking for work.
It never fails when you be a frac supervisor. You'd be sitting in there and they come over the radio. Man, there's this weird ass car out here on location. They're stopped and they're out taking pictures. They're not wearing any PPE. Well, go tell them motherfuckers to leave.
Yeah.
That you're not the only person
for?
that drives up on locations like that. That's pretty frequent.
Now we better let Darvin go. He's back with his family this week, and it's he's been gone for months. So.
Well, how long did I see on that email, that text is 45 days, or how long was that hitch?
I've been doing like 21 days on, 7 days off.
Okay, that's a lot.
You working nights or days?
I was 21 days, 21 days, nights.
Okay.
In the last like 4 months, that's been my hitches, but now I've got 2 weeks off. I had to come home a little bit early, a couple days early, because something went wrong with my lower back and my hip.
Did you try cross country skiing? Because I had a similar experience recently.
No, I didn't try cross country. I don't swing a hammer no more. I just walk around and look important.
Yeah.
Wear collared shirt.
I just got over an injury. I blew out my bicep.
Yeah. You sent me a picture of that. That was pretty gross.
Yeah, if you saw that brace, man. It was as soon as I told Lloyd, I was just like, yeah, it's what happened is it came attached from my arm, and it looked like I had a huge arm, but the bicep was missing. So they reattached it and gave me this kind of like robot arm. And I tell you what, like it's a cock blocker when you're trying to jerk off with a brace on that thing. So,
yeah.
But a few weeks into it, I busted it out. You know that scene on Forrest Gump where he runs out of those braces? I was like, yeah, just broke off, flew across the room.
That's fantastic. Yeah, whenever he sent me a picture of that, I said, please tell me that you did that aggressively masturbating.
Very aggressively.
Thanks for
coming. Well, see, my wife tried to look it up and to
look
watch
up what?
it. And,
masturbation injury?
She said it. No. Well, I mean, she probably already has that in her Google history. But the actual podcast, and she said that it wasn't going to be released till Friday.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's live now, but we're gonna edit out all the really bad stuff,
Yeah.
and then hopefully it'll be entertaining whenever we release it, or it may not be.
So basically, we'll hear you, and you won't hear any of Lloyd and I. That's the really bad stuff.
Right. Right.
the-
Yeah, right.
The hour that happened before
Be like 2
recording
minutes
is
of me.
probably gone.
Right. And
For
so
what that's worth.
So yeah. So hey, go enjoy your family. That's important. So but we
Yeah,
really
thanks,
appreciate you, Darvin, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person. I see in the future us coming out to West Texas and doing some of these live. So we appreciate you. And we appreciate what you do out
Too
there.
much fun, guys.
All right, buddy.
All right, well, yeah, don't have too much fun. Y'all be safe.
All right,
All right.
take care.
He
I
was
think
great.
Darvin did a great job.
No, we nailed it for the first thing. He's exactly what I want to bring to this audience. Is just like real folks out there working hard, doing the job. But there's a lot of good stuff out there, and he's got tons of it. And he loosened up after a while. It's nice.
Yeah. He was really nervous, so it was really cool to see him. Like, so for anybody out there that's interested in telling your story, join us. Like you let me or Jeremy know. We'll set you up for an interview. We'll do exactly what we did with Darvin. We'll just chit chat. We'll see what happens.
Go to the site, put your name in the thing in our email, send us reach out to us. A lot of you know us already, but we just want those stories. We want those the raw stories of what's going on. Like I said, it doesn't have to be technical. It's just
doesn't have to be funny, obviously.
Doesn't have to be funny.
His hands to pull the dragons from the ground, yeah. It's 35 below or it's 98 above, and he's working through it all, 'cause baby, this is what he loves. Drives 150 miles, make sure his kids are doing fine, and he sees them when he can, but he's married to his iron. You better hire him on, he's the roughest neck around. He got the power in his hands, he's pulling dragons from the ground, yeah. To have on, and he's throwing on the tongue, spinning chain and sliding high side all night long, and he's tripping in his pipe, and he torques it good and tight, and you gotta figure it, he's got his mud weight right. You better hire him on, 'cause he's better than the rest. He got the power in his hands and the dragons in his chest, yeah. Pull the dragons from the ground. Yeah, you better hire him on, 'cause he's better than the rest. He got the power in his heart and the dragons in his chest, yeah.